Welcome everyone to my review of IDW Sonic the Hedgehog issue 75. Yes, that's right, the main series has reached another milestone issue. If you're new here and you've never read or even have heard of IDW Sonic, once again, welcome. You've jumped on just as we're about to take a look at the climax to the comic's current main story arc. Now before we continue, I'm going to be placing a big spoiler warning right here. Longtime/regular viewers, you are now free to skip straight to the summary section of this double-linked story. For those who are new, and or those who casually check in on the comics, here's what's happening. The comic's current main ongoing narrative is the Clean Sweep Inc. saga, which officially began in issue 62. The main villain, businessman Clutch the Possum, started the company Clean Sweep Inc. as a means to clean up leftover Eggman tech and dispose of it. At least that's what the general public thought. In reality, it was a front to do some shady things like repurpose the egg tech to be sold on the black market. He wanted to take care of the restoration via a hostile takeover because they do the same thing Clean Sweep Inc. does, but they actually do dispose of the egg tech. To do so, he brought in shapeshifter Mimic the Octopus, and later Sonic and Tails knockoffs Surge the Tenric and Kit the Fennec, to infiltrate and sabotage the restoration from within. At the same time, he started an open partnership with restoration leader Jewel the Beetle, while making sure to avoid certain parties, namely Amy Rose and the Chaotix. They've had previous dealings with him in the past. Things started to come to a head at the Clean Sweepstakes, a Sonic Riders-esque event. Clutch had Sonic, Tails, and Amy's Extreme Gear sabotaged so that they'd be out of the competition and wouldn't be a threat to him. This ironically had the opposite effect, as the sabotage made them suspect something's going on with Clean Sweep Inc. They got some unexpected assistance from Eggman, who saw the sabotage on TV and was disappointed he wasn't involved. But more importantly, Clean Sweep Inc. bruised his ego, and he wanted some payback. He provided Sonic with the Extreme Gear, along with some hard-light camouflage. This allowed the Hedgehog to become the Phantom Rider, and he caused a little harmless mayhem. The ruse would eventually come to an end as Surge was able to unmask him in front of everyone during the conclusion of the sweepstakes. It didn't matter as Sonic served as a distraction, while Tails and Amy snuck on board the restoration shuttle to conduct their investigation. But before getting into that, it should be noted that Sonic's actions as the Phantom Rider had a ripple effect among key players in the arc. For example, Surge driving off the Phantom Rider for the first time had her labeled as a hero to the public, and she's enjoying the praise. After encountering a fan, she's going to try this hero thing for real, with Kit supporting her because he's made that way. Thing is, the hero narrative was manufactured by Clutch, and with the revelation of him being in control of the situation, broke Surge. Kit came up with a plan to try and salvage this, with one part being following Clutch's orders to take care of the Phantom Rider, and she did, by making sure Sonic could never transform again. The cherry on top is letting her boss know she succeeded in front of the general public. This angered Clutch because he wanted Sonic himself gone. Oh yes, Clutch knew Sonic was the Phantom Rider beforehand. That's because he had Mimic successfully unmask him in an earlier event. While the general public didn't witness this unmasking, key characters did find out Sonic was the Phantom Rider. The situation with Surge and Kit didn't change, but as for the others, well, Mimic was able to bail before being spotted himself and inform Clutch. But he also used this situation as a manipulation tactic to try and influence the already hardened leader of the Neo Diamond Cutters, Lanolin the Sheep. Her two teammates, Tangle and Whisper, believed Sonic had a good reason for being the Phantom Rider and would look into this separately from Lanolin. The Babylon Rogues, yeah they were in the competition obviously, figured out the entire Clean Sweep Inc. plot based on Sonic's actions and wanted in on the action too. Now here's the thing. Earlier in the saga, Clutch used the Rogues as pawns to keep certain parties busy while he finalized the partnership with Jewel. Speaking of, the Phantom Rider's actions also inspired Jewel to pay closer attention to her business partner, as Clutch attempted to use the threat of the Phantom Rider to start pushing his takeover. After Jewel had a secret chit-chat with Tangle and Whisper, which included letting her in on the Phantom Rider's identity, she began making plans of her own. Back to Tails and Amy, they located Belle the Tinkerer and learned about who sabotaged their boards, and then they run afoul of Ruff and Tumble, who are working for Clutch. Luckily, they came across an ally, Don the Rooster. He and his partner Knight the Owl, aka the Clean Sweepstakes announcer, also found out Sonic's the Phantom Rider, but rather than turn him in, they decided to help him. They're working with the Chaotix, who are conducting their own independent investigation regarding Clean Sweep Inc., but the two lost contact with them. Sonic told them to hook up with Tails and Amy to see if they know anything, and here we are. Belle correctly guessed that the Chaotix would be held in the engine room. Before getting captured, the detectives were able to get the dirt on Clean Sweep Inc. Clutch did not want said dirt out there, so he tried to get it back. But he underestimated the Chaotix, and Charming was able to get the info to Knight. Jewel made her move, and she had her forces stall Clutch's, while Knight broadcast the truth about Clean Sweep Inc. to the public. In addition, Jewel attempted to make sure Clutch didn't steal the Restoration Shuttle by activating its self-destruct sequence. And it's the type that, once activated, it cannot be stopped. Clutch, in an act of pettiness, sets a collision course for Central City below. To make matters worse, as he was chasing Charmy earlier, he sealed the Bee's friends inside the engine room along with Ruff and Tumble. Sonic spotted the shuttle falling and starts flying towards it, followed by the Babylon Rogues and the Neo Diamond Cutters. This included the disguised Mimic, as Surge and Kid forced him to head up there. It was either that, or face them. And so all the pieces are in place for the finale. Let's get to it. Since there's an actual time limit to consider, I'll bring it up as we go along. At the 25-minute mark, we check in on those trapped in the engine room. It's getting pretty hot as the engines are building towards an overload. The console's fried so Tails and Belle can't do anything there, and Amy tries in vain to whack the door open. So Vector gives it a shot, as he's not one for quitting. Outside, the Babylon Rogues break off pursuing Sonic, as Jet comes up with a better idea to get involved in the action. Mimic catches up to the Neo Diamond Cutters at the worst possible time, because that's when Clutch calls him on his radio and orders him to help him on the main deck. And yes, his real name was mentioned. Tangle and Whisper immediately chase the octopus down, leaving Lanolin with a 1,000-yard stare. We're at the 20-minute mark, and Clutch prepares to make his getaway because, of course, he has a way out. He was able to capture the Restoration Forces and wants them to have a front row seat to their demise on the deck while he watches from a safe distance. That's not going to happen as Sonic arrives on the scene. Clutch starts blasting away, but come on man, it's Sonic the Hedgehog. Surge and Kid arrive to make their move on Clutch. Pretty much their way of telling him they quit. Sonic takes a chance to free Jewel and Charmy, who informs Sonic of the self-destruct sequence and the collision course towards the city. He tells the two to free the others and find a way off the shuttle. He'll deal with Clutch. I don't know, Sonic. Surge and Kid are handling him pretty well, though I suppose you want him to face justice rather than see him fried or drowned. Clutch's luck continues to spiral downward as his goons bail on him. Even they have their limits. Clutch was able to plan ahead and activated the shuttle's weaponry by remote. Sonic tries to get Surge and Kid to work with him after saving them, but all he did was make Surge mad and make sure Clutch didn't score a direct hit. With the 3 days from the blast, Clutch eyes the Extreme Gear for a quick getaway. Unfortunately for Clutch, the Extreme Gear has its eye on him. That's right, there's more to the gear than meets the eye as it transforms into a mech controlled by Eggman. He's not happy with Clutch humiliating him and profiting off his tech, whether it was discarded or not. Sonic saves Clutch only because, again, he wants him to face justice. That's not going to happen as Surge charges up and fries all three of them, though the process leaves her exhausted. Eggman apparently learned from his previous encounter with Surge, as his mech was able to reboot quickly. With Sonic and Surge still recovering, and Kit helping the latter out, there's nothing to stop Eggman from taking the unconscious Clutch to parts unknown. Surge and Kit also take off, with Surge hoping Sonic survives so she can finish him off on fair terms. Going back to those trapped in the engine room, Espio wonders why the Skunk Brothers broke Vanilla's promise to be good boys. Tumble says Clutch wanted them to wear the mascot costumes, but then he started forcing them to do more and more tasks. Apparently, the concept of quitting a job is a foreign concept to the Skunk Brothers. They're used to being fired. But after explaining what quitting is to them, they do just that. Once free, the two, along with Dawn, and everyone else, help Vector with the door, and they actually budged it open. After freeing themselves, they make their way to the bridge. We're at 15 minutes before the big boom, by the way. Tails tries to hack into the system, but that proved impossible with the hardware melting before his eyes. Jules' group arrives, and from there things started looking up, literally as the shuttle's angle is rising. You can thank the Babylon Rogues for that. They managed to rally the Clean Sweepstakes caravan and have them tow the shuttle, allowing for some measure of control. Sonic makes a timely entrance and tells everyone to get onto the deck. While the shuttle is not in immediate danger of falling, there's still that pesky self-destruct sequence, and they're still over Central City. Jewel has an idea: direct the shuttle towards the Emeraldville ruins. The good news is, it's far away enough that the city and the general populace would be safe. The bad news is, that's where Restoration HQ is located. And even worse, there are still people inside based on Jewel's reaction. Time for Sonic the half-glass-full Hedgehog to step in. He challenges Jet to a race to see who can evacuate the most people the fastest, and Jet accepts. So they, along with the game cast and Belle, head down to start the evacuation. Over at the Sweepstakes Amphitheater, Tangle and Whisper are still hunting down Mimic. He manages to give them the slip. But there's a more pressing concern to worry about. The Sweepstakes course is falling apart, and it's threatening the stadium shuttles. That's when Lanolin shows up. She reassures the audience that they'll be fine. Her team will help guide them to a safe landing spot. She then turns to said teammates and admits that she royally screwed up, and understands if the two don't trust her. Tangle does have some words for her, but that can wait. Whisper, though, actually understands Lanolin's dilemma. So for now, the Neo Diamond Cutters get to work helping the people in the stadium. The Gamecast arrive at Restoration HQ to begin the evacuation. Sonic and Jet start their race to gather everyone from across the base, while everyone else directs the people towards the exits. Except for Tails and Belle. The machine shop is the first place away from the lobby, so they personally head there to warn those inside. They manage to get all but 2 people out. The machine shop chief, who according to him, is always the first and last person to leave the place, and Motobud. Belle's been trying to repair it, and in its current state, it cannot be moved without risking memory loss. She wants to use whatever time is left to fix it. Luckily, she has a chief mechanic and a kid genius to help. Sonic and Jet continue to get the people out, while also keeping score. They get the last of them out just as the shuttle lands on top of the building, and then, boom. Why does this remind me of Prison Island all of a sudden? Why else would there be Clean Sweep Inc. goons running around? Some of those goons also mentioned securing the place like Prison Island, along with its fate. Oh right, gotta love foreshadowing. Sonic goes to have one more look around the ruins. Good call as Tails, Belle, and the Chief are trapped among the rubble. Sonic, Tails, and Belle help the Chief out, but there's more debris coming down. That's when it's revealed that Motobug has not only been fully repaired, it's actually better than ever because now it can fly! It's all thanks to some leftover Extreme Gear parts. Belle uses Motobug to get everyone out of there. If you're wondering about Jewel, Knight, Dawn, the Skunk Brothers, and everyone else on the shuttle, they got out thanks to the Radio Guy's RV. Jet takes off to rejoin the Babylon Rogues, but before he does, he concedes to a tie, on the condition that down the line, he wants to race Sonic fair and square, and Sonic looks forward to it. Jewel's a wreck as everything is gone, but Tangle, who arrived with the Neo Diamond Cutters, shows her that what they lost was just a building, The real restoration is still around as the people are helping out in the aftermath. There's still a lot of work to do, so everyone pitches in. Yes, even rough and tumble. Though, according to Dawn, it's payment for the ride down. After a long, exhausting day of cleanup, Sonic and Tails return to the latter's house, only to find that someone has broken in. The place doesn't look ransacked, however, something was stolen from there. The yellow Chaos Emerald they recovered from issue 68. And the issue ends with a panel of its current location, on top of a pedestal in a dark cavern. Milestone issues are sometimes known to shake things up a bit. Sonic comics in general are no stranger to this, as the Archie series has some notable ones, including Robotnik's death, Robotnik's return and becoming Eggman, Eggman temporarily going insane after another loss to Sonic, and Eggman scoring a major victory. Twice. IDW Sonic's milestones are starting to become status quo game changers as things go along. The main shakeup in issue 25 was the Deadly Six taking over the Metal Virus operation, and the heroes start planning to turn things around. Issue 50 had the imposters facing the originals and losing round 1. But more importantly, this featured the end of the villain Dr. Starline. This milestone has the biggest wham moment so far, with the destruction of Restoration HQ, a place we've seen in its revamped form ever since issue 37. You do have to feel sorry for Jewel. She does feel responsible for this, as she's the one that activated the shuttle's impossible to abort self-destruct sequence. It's not really her fault. Clutch put her in a very difficult position, and a true leader knows when to make the tough calls to minimize as much collateral damage as possible. Jewel is fortunate enough to surround herself with a bunch of extraordinary people to help her out. She has indeed come a long way from the meek museum curator that we met in the 2019 annual. Now admittedly, the whole restoration is the people and not the building thing is a bit cliche, but it works. As long as the people are still around, they can always rebuild. Heck, this is not the first time Restoration HQ was trashed. Remember when the Zombots did to it previously? And Amy was left in a devastating state herself, until, funny enough, Jewel arrived and offered her services. The Restoration building's destruction highlights something that I'm actually okay with. It's pretty much stated that no matter how bad things get, Sonic and his friends must get the win in the end. But that victory doesn't have to be all sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes it can be bittersweet. Emphasis on bitter. And while I prefer some downer endings every once in a while, I'll take what I can get. In this case, Clean Sweep Inc. is done, and the people are safe. All it cost was the heroes' headquarters. There were some smaller victories and defeats spread throughout the climax. In fact, I believe the only true winner in all this was Eggman. Let's face it, many of us saw some twist regarding the Eggstream gear coming. We just didn't expect it to be a Transformer, so the Doctor could get involved somehow. He did want to find out who was responsible for Clean Sweep Inc., and now he's going to make Clutch pay. Funny, it seems that every time a major villain messes with Eggman's tech, they pay the price. I will give Clutch props for not going down without a fight. However, in the end, he underestimated the younger generation of heroes and villains. Is this the last we'll see of Clutch? We know he's still alive when Eggman took him away, though I imagine Clutch would wish he was dead after Eggman's done with him. So Kit's plan was to have him and Surge just straight up attack Clutch as part of their resignation. Should have known it wouldn't be as complicated. To me, this highlights more of Surge and Kit's inexperience, and the latter, while intelligent, still has a ways to go until he reaches the level of Tails and Eggman. For comparison, Tails helped get Motobud repaired and upgraded before things went boom in minutes. And that was an on-the-fly thing. Or better yet, Eggman's plan to capture Clutch through Sonic. It was well thought out, and he even accounted for Surge using her electric powers. Surge and Kit's victory in this is that they are now free to do whatever they want for now. We'll catch up to them in the 2024 annual. My review of it will be coming out soon, I promise. I just need to do some rewrites. Mimic being exposed the way he did. I'm mixed on this. On one hand, I'm glad it was done in front of the right people. On the other, the method was kinda lame. leaving his walkie-talkie on at the wrong time. And what really sucks is that he got away once again. Though what I do like is that if you go back to the crowd shot after we see Mimic in his new disguise, you can actually spot him among the crowd if you look hard enough. Kinda like an evil Waldo. Tangle and Whisper's reactions were appropriate given their previous encounter with the shapeshifter. Whisper herself is more bloodthirsty here. Understandable given her history with Mimic, especially since the 2024 annual showed us more of this history. Spoilers, she was the one that recruited Mimic in the first place. But she needs to tone things down or else she could hurt actual innocent people. This brings us to Lanolin. Some of you are probably grinning when the reveal happened, hoping she eats some of that crow-flavored humble pie. Some of you might be disappointed that it wasn't quite what you expected. Me, I kind of feel bad for her. Reading that Diamond Cutter story from the 2024 annual helped me look at things from a different perspective. In that story, before the big tragedy, Mimic really fooled everyone, to the point that Whisper herself said she trusted him. He pretty much did a repeat of that with the Neo Diamond Cutters, just with a new face and better acting. At least this iteration of the team is still intact for now. Lanolin will have to apologize profusely to her teammates, and especially to Silver, in order for me to fully forgive her. Whisper being understandable to her is a good start. Let's hope that when Lanolin starts her apology tour, her mind is better enough that she can speak without omitting certain words. That's my headcanon for this out-of-universe dialogue goof. I called it last time. Rough and Tumble would do something in the engine room that would get them on better standing with the heroes. In this case, using their strength to budge the engine room door open. Now I'm 100% convinced that the Spring Broken one-shot is set sometime after this arc. Especially since Tails' house has a poster for the presumably upcoming Spring Festival, the main setting of that one-shot. I do like the callback to how Mama Vanilla made the two promise to be good boys. You two should be thankful that she wasn't around during this arc. The Babylon Rogues were definitely the MVPs of the finale, gathering the caravan to tow the shuttle away from the city. It helps that they've earned the caravan's goodwill when they helped them out during the storm earlier in the arc. Tails might not have been able to stop the shuttle's self-destruct with things literally melting around him, but he did redeem himself with the aforementioned act of helping repair and upgrading Motobud in minutes. Belle herself is probably happy to have the last literal thing her father worked on back and better than ever. Finally, there's Sonic himself, who suffered a loss and a win in the climax, and both involve green rivals. While dealing with Clutch, Sonic asked Surge to help him apprehend the criminal, but she refused. You can thank Starline's programming for that. This refusal prevents Sonic from stopping Eggman from taking Clutch, all thanks to Surge's lightning. Later on though, Sonic was able to save everyone from Restoration HQ with Jet's help, while framing the act as a racing challenge. Them telling each other their score reminds me of how Legolas and Gimli keep track of how many orcs they've killed in the Lord of the Rings films. After the loss and the win, both green rivals leave Sonic be with the hopes that one day they'll face him on equal terms. With all these audience shots, there's a good chance there are some OC characters mixed in with the group. Because I want this video to be done roughly around Christmas time, fingers crossed, I might not have time to identify all of them. Hello, Editor Me here. For the sake of time and health, this video should be online a few days after Christmas. It is what it is. Though I will point out two OC characters that are essentially creator cameos. This one with the pink hair and glasses is supposed to be Sonic artist / writer Gigi. Sorry if you're watching, I cannot pronounce your last name. They're known for their most recent work, the Mimic story from the 2024 annual. And the bearded owl with the spiral glasses is Daniel Barnes, writer of Scrapnik Island. Obviously this character was based on Old Man Owl from the Sonic OVA. There are some background characters I recognize from past issues, but for those who have read this issue, if there are any OC background characters that you recognize, and I haven't mentioned them in my previous videos, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Final thoughts on the Clean Sweep Inc. saga. Overall, I liked it. Some aspects of it I enjoyed more than others, and there was stuff that I facepalmed and asked, why? Though my thoughts now are not as negative compared to my thoughts at the time. My favorite arc would be Phantom Riders, because of everything mostly coming together, and the designs of the riders' outfits and the vehicles. Shame we'll never see the Phantom Rider outfit again. The design of it was really a highlight of this arc. There's still one more thing to talk about, and it's what happened to the yellow Chaos Emerald at the end. Who stole it, and why did they place it on a pedestal in a creepy cavern? This may or may not be answered in the main book, for you see, the same day issue 75 came out, IDW, or ID as they're beginning to call themselves these days, released a solicitation of a one-shot featuring Shadow the Hedgehog, and the covers feature him and the Yellow Emerald, and possibly the same location we see at the end of this issue. So yeah, it's possible that this final moment may serve as a tease to that Shadow one-shot. For now, there is the fallout from the sweepstakes disaster. Come back next time as we'll start a new arc in which everyone involved begins to pick up the pieces. Appropriately titled, Scattered Pieces. See ya then. Fortunately for our hero and sidekick, the Emerald Thief did not make off with her iconic shoes to either sell them, or worse, replace them with knockoffs to rob our heroes of their abilities.